Hey, and welcome to another episode of Grit in the Wild podcast. I'm your host, Adam Short.
And I'm your co-host, Melissa Short.
And together we're here to talk about spiritual abuse, toxic faith, religious trauma, and a lot of the other things that kind of happen in between of those subjects, tough conversations, and really just trying to help all of us heal from religious abuse and spiritual trauma. And today we're super excited because we've got a very special guest with us who is expressing a huge amount of courage and bravery, and we're super thrilled to have him on. And Andrew Bullard is going to be joining us to share his story of what he has gone through in his group in Atlanta, Georgia. And so, Andrew, we're super excited to have you here, and really appreciate you joining us. And you're our first official guest, so we really are super excited to have you on, and really looking forward to hearing your story and helping you get your story out, because I know it's been something that you've been really sitting on and trying to work through for a long time now. So welcome to the podcast. We're super excited to have you. And if you want to just give us a little intro on who you are and kind of the organization you're a part of, and just give the audience, maybe your intro there, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for having me on. I've watched you guys from afar in the Twitterverse for a little while, and I've been a regular listener of Grit in the Wild. You guys started, I guess, a year ago or something like that, and it's been really good.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah,
we appreciate that, man.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. I've got my wife, Joy, and I've got 3 kids, Ben, Macy, and 1-year-old Miles. And so you might hear them from time to time. I'm in the basement of our house. You might hear a little thump here and there. But I've been in full-time ministry for 10 years at what was IHOP Atlanta, and then became Gate City Church. And in this podcast, I'm going to attempt to summarize 10 years of ministry, which I'm sure we can get there, but 10 years expressed in a couple hours. I'm looking forward to doing that. So I got started at IHOP Atlanta fresh out of high school. I did a gap year, and I had an internship there. And during the internship, we got taught the prophetic history of IHOP Kansas City. There's an Atlanta spin on that prophetic history that is sort of isolated to the city of Atlanta and the strategic spiritual warfare of having 5 24/7 houses of prayer. That the prophetic narrative is that if you have 5 24/7 prayer rooms, that then revival would happen. There'd be a 50-mile demon-free zone, and the race and the principalities of racism and religion would be torn down. So I just gave you a lot of information there, but that was about what I was taught as an intern at 19, 20 years old. I forget how old I was. So
yeah, and that's really good to kind of bring in the connection with IHOPKC, which was that for y'all, kind of your mothership and sort of the blueprint for how your sort of version of IHOP was laid out in Atlanta. It kind of followed that structure.
It did. So it was the same structure, at least to my understanding. Mike Bickle at the top in IHOP Kansas City, you had sort of the apostle. Of course, Mike Bickle would never call himself an apostle, but we had a similar structure with Billy Humphrey at the top at IHOP Atlanta. And so we had all the same things. You have the ELT, which if anyone's familiar with the IHOP Kansas City structure, you've got that. And then you've got what I was, which was an intercessory missionary. And just that phrase, intercessory missionary, I attempted to do a podcast with my wife right when the Mike Bickle stuff went up. And I'm kind of going on a bunny trail here, so I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got the prophetic history right here, actually. And we attempted to just go through this line by line. And in the first paragraph here, the word intercessory missionary is in the prophetic narrative.
Wow.
And as soon as I saw that, I was like, babe, we can't do this podcast. We got to figure this out, because like literally that's what has been like my business card. My like, are you a painter? Are you a real estate agent? I was an intercessory missionary for 10 years. And to realize that
Wow.
that came from the prophetic narrative of
Mm.
Bickle was, I mean, I think I always knew it. I just didn't realize it until about a year ago that even that phrase of the designation that I had came from that system and that prophetic narrative.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So is that like been a big part of the sort of unpacking or peeling back the layers for you? Like even in something as practical as your title, like realizing, wow, this is something that was sort of coined and created um out of thin air, I guess, maybe out of thin air, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like that was something that you really discovered in your
Yes.
journey of sort of peeling back the layers, if I'm
Yeah.
understanding correctly.
That's exactly right. Like a year ago, I think Joy and I had the intent to do the podcast we were going to do on the prophetic history with the perspective of some of this might be true, some of it might not be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, which looking back at it now, it's so clear from the beginning, Bickle had an agenda. You know,
Yeah.
I do believe that he set up the whole system to create a place where he could prey on women. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And we
it
took
does.
that exact system and placed it in IHOP Atlanta. So that's, at least from my perspective, that appears to be what happened when it was established.
And I have a question for you, Andrew, just really quick for like people who are listening. When did you mentioned 10 years? So can you give for just like a timeline? What year was that you started?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, so I started going to the young adult service in 2012. So that's when I was first exposed to everything. I graduated 2013, so internship in 2014. That's when I launched into full-time ministry, raised the partner team, did really well with that. And I mean, really throughout our time at IHOP Atlanta, Gate City, we had no issues raising funds for the most part, thankfully. I know that that's not everyone's story, you know, but for us, we experienced other things. We didn't experience the financial struggles and strains that others did, but we definitely experienced other things.
Yeah.
So 2012 to, was it 2024 that you stepped away officially?
Yeah.
Yes, it was around
really
the time,
12 years.
Yeah, around 12 years that I was exposed to it, 10 years on staff. Yeah.
Yeah, you were in deep, man. That's probably about as deep as you can get. Well, and I'm kind of just looking at your outline over here just to refresh my memory, but we talked about in the modeling how Gate City was modeled after IHOP mothership. And then I know one of the things you had mentioned to us when we had talked earlier is, if I remember correctly, wasn't there like a merging of, or they attempted to merge the Gate City organization with a church, right, in Atlanta? Is that kind of what happened? Maybe talk about that a little bit. How did that impact you and your journey?
Yeah, correct. So Gate City was the result of a merge between IHOP Atlanta and
Gotcha.
a church called Newbridge Church. And that church, gosh, I want to say it had 800 to 1,000 people, something like that. A pretty big building compared to what we had at IHOP Atlanta. And that Newbridge Church was also a result of its own merge that was between a Baptist and Assemblies of God church. So we just had a lot of different people for a lot of different things. And there were even prophetic narratives I've only recently just stumbled upon from the Newbridge side of things. There were even prophetic words about like revival, being a beachhead for revival, being more than just a regular church, that kind of language. And so that was something that was already kind of prepped there from the leadership of Newbridge that kind of prepared for a merge, if that makes sense. And so how was that for me? So confusing and weird. And I still don't know what to make of it all. There were tons of like prophetic words that people gave Billy as the merge happened that honestly I don't know what to make of that. There were so many prophetic confirmations that I heard about that none of it makes a lot of sense to this day. It's a little bit of head scratcher.
So I just want to clarify. So did this merge happen after you were already a part of this IHOP Atlanta, or was that before you joined?
It happened about 5 years into my tenure there. And so I got to have about 5 years of experiencing only a parachurch ministry. Sort of like YWAM is kind of how ours worked and flowed. So a parachurch would just be something where you have a bunch of churches working together, a bunch of different denominations working together for a goal of prayer in this case. And so that always made a lot of sense to me. 5 years in, when the merge happened, it's all this prophetic frou-frou. But to answer your question, it was 5 years in, and then I got to experience 5 years of the collision that was the merge.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Well, Andrew, what is it, what's burning inside that you want to tell, the world? Like I know there's probably a ton of things you could say to answer that, but, moving into like your personal story, what do you feel that you want to share? What is it? Maybe let me ask you this. When did things start to click for you from the standpoint of like something's wrong here? What was that like? How did you experience that? I think that would be really pertinent for our audience to know. For you personally, like how did that happen? Was it in layers? Were there like key moments that you remember? That was a lot of questions crammed into one there. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing I want to communicate, there's already been a narrative sort of spun that I have offense and bitterness and stuff in leaving. And it's been really disappointing to see that happen because, when you tell someone you're offended or you're bitter, it's more than just, I mean, that doesn't sound so bad on the surface. What they're really saying is you are an offended and bitter person. And that's kind of what I feel like the narrative has been spun. And I just want to say, like, my intent for sharing all of this is not to cancel anyone, to remove anyone from ministry, to end 24/7. The main thing I think I want to, or the main heart is just for people either at Gate City or other similar organizations where they feel stuck, or they feel they're in a similar situation as I was, to where they feel less alone. And so if there's one person that's listening and can relate in some way to my story, and they feel less alone, I think that's a win here in my book. So I don't know if that answered your question about what I want to share. Yeah, I think I just want to share that heartbeat behind what I'm doing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that comes through. I mean, in the conversations we've had, and I know you and I have interacted quite a bit on Twitter over the past couple of years, just with the main IHOP stuff too. And I think that is really important for people to realize that, the vast majority, if not everybody that comes out of these toxic and harmful ecosystems, they're not actually trying to harm anybody. They're actually trying to help other people. Like the house is on fire. How can we let everybody else know that something's wrong here? So
yeah, I was going to say the same. Like, I think that's so true. There's such a misunderstanding when people come out and share, and I think you said it just good.
Yeah. So I'm curious too, like just to go back to the timeline when the Bickle stuff hit the fan in the fall of 2023. How did that impact you? And like, was that like a wake up call for you, or did you immediately start to ask questions about your organization you were part of, or was it after that, or what was the timeline like for you there with the Kansas City connection? I'm just really curious because, it seems like from what we've seen over the past couple of years, it seems like these things happen in domino effects. A lot of times, especially with IHOP adjacent or IHOP connected organizations. So yeah, what was that like, the fall of 23 and then moving forward into 24 when you eventually left?
Yeah, it was an incredibly stressful time for me. I mean, my realization that something was very wrong, had been a few years in at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I held on to these prophetic narratives. I held on to the prophetic history. I held on to, all the things that sound so great. End time
Yeah.
harvest, end time youth movement, billion soul harvest, stadium Christianity. There's no news but good news here.
Right.
Those kind of things that, I really held on to that are extra biblical. But once Jane Doe came forward, which, obviously we know is Deborah, her story, honestly was one of the most painful moments of my life. I would just say it that deeply. When I heard the phrase used, I think Bickle, in one of his manipulations, was trying to either pull her back or pull her in. He kept saying, "You're a pillar in the house of prayer." He kept saying that phrase to her. And as soon as I heard that, I literally just screamed weeping. I mean,
Wow.
it was terrible, because that same phrase many times was used to encourage us to keep going, to keep courage, and to keep moving forward with, our mission of 24/7.
Yep.
And so that's how it hit me. Immediately, I suspected there was a cover up. Immediately, I suspected it was all true, only because I had seen. I mean, first of all, the statistics are very clear. If there's an allegation, more than likely it's true. I think it's something in 92, 93%.
Yeah, very high.
Facts don't care about your feelings. And
no, they don't.
It was
That's true.
It was not looking good statistically, but more than that, the way things were spun, the notorious Dean Briggs meeting, I mean, the way that Dave Sliker carried himself in that meeting was, I know information, I'm not giving it to you, and I'm the guy in charge, you're not, and you need to just trust us. And that was when I was like, oh no, we're in for it, aren't we? That was, and
so at that point, was it like, were you did it kind of hit you that okay, they're digging their heels in here, and this is going to be drug out for a while?
Yes.
It sounds like too, like you mentioned that moment when you heard, almost like just a huge crack, right, in your spiritual foundation, right? Like everything you've devoted yourself to, and this huge, just right in the middle of all that too. I can imagine that was
absolutely devastating. I mean, it was obviously, I've never experienced anything like what Deborah has, but the spiritual dynamics at play I was very familiar with.
Yeah. So okay, so that's a great segue to kind of back to your story and experience, Andrew. And of course, if there's anything you don't want to share, by all means, skip it. But what was that like? As the thunder crashes outside, what was that like for you? Kansas City stuff's hitting the fan. You're realizing something's not right in Atlanta. You're hearing, the pillar language and the trigger, so the quote unquote trigger words, or the loaded language, to keep people engaged and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like what was that like? What was going on inside, and how did you navigate that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a really loaded, I guess, open-ended question there, but I'm just curious to hear more like the nitty gritty of how that was for you.
Yeah. So I was still on staff at Gate City when that started hitting the fan. There was an immediate emergency meeting, and in that meeting, I don't remember if Billy expressly said it or implied it, but the message was, don't get online. Don't say anything online. And at this point, I'm kind of out the door anyway. But that was one of the first red flags there. And leading up to the disclosure, there were a few private staff chapels where Billy shared messages on complaint and accusation that mirrored in many ways what Bickle was doing prior to it all also.
Okay.
And again, I'm not saying those are connected or correlated. Maybe it was just something in the prayer movement zeitgeist that perhaps Bickle was throwing to people. That's what I believe. I don't think that was something nefarious on Billy's part. But there have been many statements that the organization has put out. A few of them have been like, we have supported, we've supported those grieving and feeling their way through this. And, the consensus with folks I've talked to, and personally, that was one of the main reasons we left. It was not a place where I could actually process. I could have honest conversations about the prophetic history. It was very much clearly tied to our own prophetic narratives. And I don't know where I'm going with all that, but that's kind of what was going on. There was a zeitgeist of don't be a complainer, don't be bitter, trust the process, pray for a third party investigation, stuff like that. And that was something Billy publicly called for, and I'm appreciative of the party investigation. I do want to say that.
I think it might have cut out there for a second. Did you say that Billy he did publicly support a third-party investigation at IHOPKC?
Yes, and I'm grateful for that. I want to reiterate that.
Okay.
So it sounds like, like the leadership it's Gate City, right? Is that the name? Making sure I got it right. It sounds like they were kind of like, they were acknowledging this was happening, on the surface, like we want, right, the third party, but behind the doors, like a lot of you didn't feel like you could actually be honest and ask your questions and really process through what you were feeling, because you were getting all these mixed messages about like, don't be bitter, don't complain.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And when Tammy Woods came out with her story, I think that was really a turning point of, okay, this is, so clear at this point. There's so many witnesses.
Yeah.
The level of, predation was strong. And it was at that point where, I had some conversations with Billy, and I said, we have got to talk about the prophetic narratives of our house. We've got to talk about the 5 houses of prayer, why we're still trying to do 24/7 houses of prayer in the middle of this, because they had just announced that they're planning a second church, a second of these 24/7s. And I'm over here just spending 10 years slugging away in the 1 24/7. And that has had its own dead bodies and harm. Why are we not addressing that at all? Why are we not addressing the the spiritual abuse stories in Kansas City that were so similar to our own? And that was what was heartbreaking, is there was just no willingness to look at that. From what I could tell, there was no willingness to look at the spiritual abuse, right? And that's something that just became a theological thing. Spiritual abuse.
What do you mean by that, theological? Can you explain what you mean by that?
If you have the narrative, or you have the belief that you can have one leader that's an authoritarian and that's okay, and you have to submit to that leader, and that's across NAR churches, across even the William Branham churches. If you have that as your theology, it becomes a theological thing when you try to hold that leader accountable.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I mean by that. I mean, I think it's it's a harmful theology to believe that
for sure.
the authoritarian leader can get away with just about anything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's interesting. So maybe we can hone in a little bit on, because we've kind of talked about sort of the fallout at IHOPKC and sort of how that, impacted and, radiated over towards the Atlanta orbit. But then to your point, they're like wanting to push launching this new branch of Gate City while you've got people laying in the ditch. And can you talk about that some more? Like, because I'm sure you witnessed and know people that were quite literally, they were the victims of that. And like, how was that in the organization, knowing that, hey, the mission must go on, right? Like, we've got to plant this new location, but all these other people over here are suffering. And I know you had mentioned conversations and meetings, that had happened behind closed doors to try to address that kind of stuff. But how did that go? Did it, do you feel like it got their attention at all? And did they eventually address the problems at all, or they just ignore it, or what was that like?
Yeah. With the new plant, I just felt it was extremely tone deaf given the scale of what was happening at IHOP Kansas City. And that was literally at the time where we had Eric Voles, the spin doctor. It was in the middle of all that kind of stuff where there was still a lot of uncertainty. And it was like, no, we're planning this thing. And this is a part of this huge prophetic narrative that's going to result in revival. And I'm like, I'm literally like, what even is revival? But what is
Yeah.
what are we even going for? If this mothership, if this organization up in Kansas City is like fully corrupt and they're still praying for revival, why are we praying for revival? Why are and if we are praying for revival, let's have a defined language for that. Because what does it matter if we have the 5 24/7s, let's just play that out. And you've got, revival, great meetings. It looks like things are going in the direction of end time harvest, but you've got abuse happening in the midst. You've got predation happening in the midst. You have women getting abused, and you don't have safeguards for that, or safeguards from accountability, authoritarian leadership. If you don't have safeguards for that and you've got revival, what is the point of your revival? That's just where my mind was going. That was what I tried to talk about with Billy. It became very clear that there was no room for a serious conversation about those things.
Right. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I remember you mentioning, was it like you were the problem because you were confronting the problem? Did you experience like sort of like the Darvo effect when you confronted the leadership?
Yeah, in this case, there was definitely that happening. I confronted Billy on one of his public statements where he talked about vitriolic language online. And that phrase, in the midst of, disclosure of abuse, disclosure of all kinds of things, felt really inappropriate to me. And there were a few others doing that as well. And it was when I called Billy out on that where, it was like, I thought we were friends. Like, that phrase was used. And so that it was those kind of, our friendship is at stake for me questioning your public statement that felt a little tone deaf. And so, so it was those kind of things that would happen from time to time.
That's rough, man. You've been through the ringer. You've been through the ringer, and I'm sure there's a whole lot more that you haven't even shared too. How did you navigate that? Like, when you had those conversations with him, and he responded to you that way by thinking that you're questioning the friendship, and like, what was that like for you, specific to like your spiritual life and the greater, I guess, prophetic narrative and all that stuff? Like, how did that impact, or not? Maybe it didn't impact the prophetic piece there, but did that make sense? I was just kind of trying to.
I think at that point I'd already, decided that for me to feel good about being there and contributing, I needed to hear something in the realm of, we understand not just that these are false words, right? But these are words that have been used to manipulate people, not just sexually, but manipulate people to use their labor and their work. And again, it seemed like he just wasn't hearing the consensus from ex-staff coming out of IHOP. And it's not a full consensus. There were definitely people there that had, perfectly fine experiences. But the vast majority extreme hurt, extreme devastation as the fruit of the ministry. And there really was not a willingness to look at that right in the face. And that was very troubling.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And so like with that, like I know you mentioned there was a lot of messages around, don't talk about this, right? We're moving forward. Like how did that go? Like did you guys just have to keep doing business as usual while you guys are all processing this? Or did you notice things were starting to crack like on a deeper level with that? Or
Yeah, at that point I'd left the organization.
okay.
And sorry, I don't feel like I've been great with timelines here. But
No,
yeah,
you're doing
when
great, man.
this went down, so when IHOP Kansas City stuff went down, a few weeks later I was gone, unrelated.
Okay.
But that was around the timeline, and my wife still was working there, still receiving financial support, and I was attempting to start a finance business, in life insurance, and that was not the time to do it. I had a lot of stuff to figure out.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So
that makes sense.
That's what I was up to at that time. I was trying to be an entrepreneur while my world's crumbling down.
Oh.
So you you left, that was totally unexpected, right? That you left, and then now you're left trying to figure out a new path, right? I'm sure providing for your family and all that kind of stuff in the middle of like this spiritual crisis, spiritual abuse, just all at once. Yeah.
It felt like my world was crumbling down for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that is, I feel pain for y'all for what you've been through. What, so that makes sense. You stepped away towards the end of 23, but your wife was still a part of the organization for some time after that. What was kind of the next phase for you after 2023? Of course, 2024 was a wild year in the IHOP and even the other organizations that have since, scandals have broken. What was that year like for you? And what do you, I guess for people that are listening who have been through similar things, what has helped you? Like what, whether it's tools or resources or whatever, fill in the blank, like just curious, what do you feel like has helped you navigate that, particularly in 2024 and forward?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say 2024 was about the worst and best year of my life for different reasons. I definitely, at the beginning of that year, my marriage was in crisis 100%.
I'm sorry.
And getting marriage counseling and talking to a licensed counselor about everything we were going through, church, our marriage struggles, our relationships. And it really took sitting down with a licensed professional to just understand and get everything on the same page, because she was still on staff and I was incredibly uncomfortable with that.
That's tough.
And that led to a lot of tension. And there were actions with leaders and powerful people in the organization. One of them actually said that Billy's merciful for not firing Joy for what I was putting online. And you guys maybe have been following me, maybe not. Like I wasn't saying anything about Gate City. Like you can look back. I mean, if I was only talking about IHOP Kansas City and other organizations, and that really, I mean, I don't know fully what that was, but I took it as a threat. I really did. And I don't think this individual intended it that way, but it was very it was very startling when he said that.
Was that from one of the other leaders at the ministry said that to you?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was that kind of thing where I'm like, wait, I thought we didn't have connection with IHOP, because that's the narrative. We're not connected. And that was not entirely true either.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they were like putting this narrative forward that, hey, we're something totally separate from IHOPKC. Wow.
Yes.
I think I missed that important detail. That's super important.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it was convenient, they were
Yeah, there was.
And then when it's inconvenient, not right.
You know, honestly reminds me, this is like part and parcel, like you've seen this movie before. I go back to December, I'll never forget, it was early December, I think, of 2023, when the one and only statement that Mike put out, you know, that written quasi sort of apology. I don't know if that's even what you call it, but
Mhm.
and then, you know, shortly after that, supposedly IHOPKC permanently separated from Mike Bickle. And of course, you know, everybody was always like, yeah, right. We don't believe that. Like, he's still involved somehow pulling the strings. Well, it sounds to me kind of like a similar situation at Gate City, where it's like the obvious truth is you're quite very connected to the mothership in Kansas City. And to
Mhm.
be able to put forth this narrative that you aren't, it's just like the cognitive dissonance is just it's like completely mind blowing that that can happen, and people can feel okay with straight just basically lying about stuff, you know.
Yeah, and the part like you're saying that you were posting about stuff that was related to IHOP and other things. Like, yeah, you're like, if they're not connected, then what is the problem with me talking about this? So that's
Yeah, that's a
another
good
kind of
point.
red flag. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Don't have answers for that one.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't either, other than the show has to go on and the cash
Yeah.
flow can't stop.
Well, it's like, I think we've seen that, right? As all of these different scandals are breaking, it's like they're all connected, even though they, right? Oh, that's not my ministry or they're not my business.
Yeah.
It's like the narrative is the same, right? The information control, the same language, you know, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
the complaining, the bitterness, the unforgiving, all of that, the accuser of the brethren rhetoric it's like the same line, right? Over and over and over again. So yeah. Ay. So sorry. I was curious, like, I
Yeah.
know we're kind of moving backwards in your story a little bit, but
Mhm.
you had mentioned that this had like the spiritual abuse and stuff had been going on for a few years. I would love if that feels like the right place to share
Mhm.
kind of like when you very first started to bump up against those things, and maybe sharing, if you want to, like what were some of those things, what were some of those interactions or red flags that you noticed
Yeah.
earlier
Question.
on?
Yeah, there were a few things early on. Like my wife and I, we did the night watch when we immediately went on staff at the House of Prayer. And honestly, I have so many great memories at the night watch. It's kind of a
That's
mixed
good.
bag, because like there were some of the greatest moments of my life, but some of the truly worst moments.
Yeah.
There was not a lot of support for us when we led the night watch. Or I need to back up. So before we started our tenure as night watch directors, the person who was leading before had left. And when that happened, Joy got a convenient word from Billy. So this was him sitting us down, me and her, with Billy and Maribeth, and he tells her, you know, I just feel God is calling you to be the next leader of the house of the night watch. And so that was something for her, red flag immediately. For me, I'm just like, way to go, babe. You got a prophetic word. Like that was honestly kind of my reaction. You know, I'm just like, I'm just the dude chilling. Like, honestly, I was just chilling those first few years of IHOP, man. Learned guitar, got married, and we got a prophetic word. That's cool.
Yeah.
That was it. And, you know,
Ministry
felt
position,
special.
woohoo!
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
It's
that's like
dream, right?
that's like the pot of gold that you're all looking for. We're all I say we and everybody else has been in it.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that about the prophetic word that Joy got. And how was that? Was that like very heavily directional, obviously, because it sort of led to that position that y'all both took, or was it just her and then you eventually joined her, or what?
Yeah, so she was just like, she called him out on it immediately. She's like, "Are you sure this is not just because you need someone?" And that's just how Joy is. That's just
good
how
for her.
She's done that a few times over the years. A few times I'm just like, you know, I just got like, whoa, you just said that. She'll sometimes just say the thing, and I appreciate that about her.
Yeah,
And
that's a great trait to have.
it is Midwesterner is what she's got.
Okay.
She's got that. And so she called him out on that, and he backpedaled a little bit. He's like, yeah, you guys can kind of do this. It was something like that. But when we accepted the position, Joy was a little bit like, okay, a little weird, but we're both a little like, we're excited to do it and take our place on the wall, right? That doesn't sound weird at all, does it? But but that's what we were doing. Really there is something profound about a tradition. And the tradition at that point was we got about 10 years at this organization where there's been 24/7. And I just have to say that's cool. Like that just is cool.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like anybody can come in. And that's what kept me for so long was at any time, day or night, I'm giving you all the pitch, so I'm sorry. But like anytime someone can come in, if you're having marriage trouble, if you're strung out on drugs, like whatever the situation, you got a problem.
Right.
You can come in there at 2 a.m. and talk to God, judgment free. Honestly, that is what I still find to be very profound about having a sanctuary. When it ceases to become a sanctuary, that's where you lose me completely. But that is what I felt I was doing. And that I so connected with because I saw so many amazing things happen. Testimonies of people getting healed, testimonies of people getting delivered. Of course, there were also bad things that happened. There were sketchy people that would come in the middle of the night. We had a prison ministry. And at the organization, there was a prison ministry. And I don't think they realized what they were doing when they were telling people in the jail, yeah, come by 24/7. It's good. You can just come here. And it was a few miles away from the jail. Okay. And so we'd have some unsavory characters come in, drunk, come in on drugs, just kind of sleep. And that's a no-no. Like if you've ever been in the house of prayer, you're going to have the yellow jackets come at you. And we didn't have yellow vests or anything. It was just us kind of telling people, hey, don't sleep. It's not really the purpose of what we're doing here. But, also having resources for those people, ideally. But I got assaulted one night. And it was a punch. I mean, I'm a wrestler and, it wasn't much of an assault. It was just kind of a punch in the shoulder. But the guy was super threatening. And super like, it was not good memories with this one, but there was definitely after getting punched, I was like, oh, like people can actually come here and be violent and not everyone here is here to just pray and, seek refuge with God. No, like some people are actually there just to like kind of take up space and no, get out of my face if you're anywhere near me because I want to be here. There were a few of those that we'd run into. And there was just not a whole lot we could do about that. When someone was truly, had true animosity or true, I don't know the word. If someone truly had bad intentions and was just trying to go there and take up space, we had people doing drugs in the parking lot, stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah.
But there just weren't a lot of safety guards, and we're like 20. Sometimes Joy was alone in the prayer room. And so it's things like that would happen from time to time. And we just didn't have a lot of support. Not only that, we had to deal with the practical side of 24/7. And anyone you talk to who's done 24/7 work before, it's, there's a reason why there's only like one of them. And it's in Kansas City. And I guess we got one too, and there have been a few, but there's a reason why they typically don't last long. 42 hours in the night watch is a beast. No one wants to be awake at 2 a.m. They just don't.
Right.
And so we realized very quickly it was pretty practically impossible to get that done. And that led to a lot of stress. That led to a lot of, it was just a lot to take care of. A 24/7.
Sure.
And then also like making sure everyone's safe on the premises. Like we were basically security guards,
because you were the director of the night watch, right?
Yeah.
So the buck kind of stopped with y'all to
it did. We had to figure it out. Yeah.
And it was hard. So you mentioned too, it was hard to get people to also like participate in that, like that
Yes.
schedule, right? Yeah.
Yeah. There just weren't enough people. There weren't
Yeah.
enough people that actually wanted to be awake. And looking back on it, you know, I mean, Joy and I sometimes would do like half the week. Like she would do 3 hours,
Wow.
I would do 3 hours. And that's kind of how we rolled for a while. And so, you know, never once for some reason did I ask, like, why are we doing 24/7? I think for me, what inspired me wasn't necessarily the prophetic narratives. It was like, this is just what we've done. This is cool. I like this. Let's keep doing it. And so that was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of pressure to keep that happening. And sometimes the 6 a.m.s wouldn't show up. You know, we have 12 to 6. And what happens if the 6 doesn't show up? Well, you go
Do
till
y'all
7.
just fill in?
Yeah. What happens
Or-
if the 7 doesn't show up? You stay till 8. Sometimes
Okay.
I think the latest I exited the stage, and I want to, you know, I think 8:15, somewhere in there. And I've been up all night, you know.
Right.
And so there are situations when, you know, someone just doesn't show up for their first set, and then the 8 a.m. is late. So that would happen, not often, to be fair, but it would happen.
Yeah, I mean, even if you didn't have the 8 a.m. not showing up, just filling the night watch slots, you know, on a regular basis is brutal, man. It's a brutal thing to do.
I have a question about that too. I was just thinking like the spiritual implications, right? Because if you believe this is your mandate, like how was that for you thinking like, okay, if we didn't cover this, if we didn't keep the fire burning, so to say, like how was that for you? Did you feel spiritually like something bad might happen or you're, you know, dropping the torch? Like what was your mindset or thought around that part of it? Or did you think about that? I was just curious.
I'm going to confess something really, really controversial. I would set a loop and use the restroom.
Say that again.
I would set a loop and I would use the restroom.
Oh,
I
like
would just
a loop
leave and there'd be no one there.
instruments.
There'd be nobody there. Because what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You just got, if you got to go, you got to go.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if I guess there was pressure to get it done, but I don't think there was like, oh my gosh, if we dropped this, God would be mad. Like, I don't know if I felt that. No, it was pretty chill.
I was just curious what that's like. I'm hearing all the pressure and I'm like, wow, what was that like for you?
Yeah, it's just a pressure to get it done organizationally. And never did I ask, hey, why are we doing this really? Right?
Yeah.
Why are we really doing this? And the answer is right here. See, I've got the prophetic history right here. It's there because it's an end time youth movement of 24/7 prayer. That's why. That is the answer to that question. And I wish I'd asked a few more questions back then.
Don't we all?
Well, yeah, because you think about, have you heard that, like, our brains aren't fully formed till we're 25. So you think about all these young people, like, that critical thinking part of our brain isn't even fully online yet. So, like, we don't think to ask that stuff. We're very, like, trusting and,
it's like I've told John Collins however many times, like, I'm going to walk into the church and open my brain up and you just fill it cult church with everything you want to, until I'm going to be the robot that you called me to be. Now, I'm not saying every organization is that textbook, right? I mean, I think there's probably a spectrum that everything sort of lives on, but yeah, that makes sense. So, and I'm just looking over here at your story, Andrew, to make sure we didn't miss any pieces here. This is probably important to talk about. You had a few bullets in here about what you're not doing, and just to refresh your memory, like you're not calling, and this kind of ties back to what you were saying a minute ago, like how you actually think 24/7 is a beautiful thing conceptually, and like if it is a sanctuary, to your point, if it is a safe place for people to come, which I love that. I mean, I agree with you. Like, dude, there's something really amazing about a spot that you can go anytime. And I frankly miss that.
I do too. I
do miss that.
Yeah.
But so, like, talk about that, what you're not doing, and then talk about what you are doing, what you hope for, what you hope to come out of you sharing your story.
Yeah, I think just as I said earlier, just the hope that one person feels less alone in their situation. I was in a situation where I didn't feel I could actually move on from full time ministry. I didn't feel like I could move on from having a partner team. I do feel like the partner team put us in a vulnerable place where, there wasn't a lot other we could do other than ministry.
Yeah.
And I mean, the moment that I'll tell you, we were one of those that took what Blaze 4A would say seriously. I remember him saying early on in the Wake Up and Win podcast, he's like, some of you guys at these IHOPs just need to go and get a job. And for me, I got a blue collar job, working in low voltage, and since that job, I've it was our marriage stress disappeared overnight.
Wow.
The church stress disappeared overnight. Okay, we can make a decision now to move on from this.
That's great.
And we took Blaze's advice, and I'd say it was really what we needed. We needed a change of pace for us. That's what we needed at that time. And I obviously respect people's rights to do whatever they feel God is asking them to do. For us in the place that we were mentally, spiritually, we needed to just, I needed to go install some lights. That's what I needed to do. And it worked out really well.
I love that. Yeah.
And that can feel so empowering when you come out of these high control groups, right? Because your whole world is ministry, and financially speaking, that's all right? Those are your skill sets.
Yeah.
And so to step outside of that, I think too, I can imagine it feels a bit empowering. Like, okay, I don't have to be dependent, right, on this system or this organization.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say, I used to resent the phrase get a job, because I do think there's some unfair stereotyping of, people in ministry that are in parachurch organizations. Go get a job, right? Like me saying that, even me saying that a little bit, I'm like, I don't love that. I think what I'm saying really, and what people's hearts are when they give that critique, are, I want you to thrive. I want you to be financially independent from something that's not good for you. And that's really what it is.
Yeah.
When I began pursuing financial independence, that's when everything changed. That's what it was about. It wasn't about getting a job. It was about becoming financially independent from something that was causing both me and my wife harm, and people that I loved around me.
Right. Oh man.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Dude, that is one of my biggest, I think, things I feel the most strongly. Is that correct English? The strongest about, like, is where finance, where like finance and human agency and spiritual abuse all intersect, because those three things, like, if I had three hands, I could make a whatever that is, an asterisk or whatever. And it's like, when you're in an organization and the financial structure is set up to where you are dependent on that to be able, you actually have to do that to continue providing for your family, especially when you have a family like you do.
Yeah.
It just, I think, accentuates the pressure.
Yeah.
And it also, I think, can make people even more vulnerable to spiritual abuse, because it's like the very people that are, quote unquote, providing for the bills to be paid are the people that are hijacking their authority and, harming me spiritually. So I love that you got out from under that, and y'all have developed a way to be financially independent that's not, tied to that organization anymore. That's a huge win.
Yeah, I just want to say too, I think that could be really hopeful for people that are listening too, that maybe that's what's keeping them where they're at too. Like, to hear stories like yours that, like, hey, like, there is another way if if that's the path you want to go, right? Like, not that there's right or wrong. I love that you mentioned that. Like, whatever path you're on, that God has you on, that's good for you. But in your situation, that was the right thing for you to step away. And how that's been a huge blessing, it sounds like, for your marriage and your family. And
yeah. And I say it's probably worth stating that at Gate City, the financial dependence was even more pronounced, because Billy would partner people, just like Mike did, at $500 a month.
Okay.
And so it's enough money to actually affect your bottom line, your budget, but not enough. I mean, it's not a salary. But
Like you're talking about the stipend.
yeah, well, it wouldn't be a
The-
stipend. It would be him personally partnering with people. And what he did with us and with a few other people was, don't tell anyone about this. Don't tell people that I'm partnering with you. And so there was that added dynamic of, okay, if I say something to him, am I going to lose $500 a month? Like that entered my mind many, many times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So
are you
that was another
saying
thing.
that? Yeah, that's major. That's major. So are you saying that Billy said that to multiple people privately, and so you had like a group of people who he had told that to, and then was it like you thought you were the only person maybe that he partnered, quote unquote, partnered with?
Or one of a few, I'd say. That's what that was the message. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Did you feel, was it, well, what did you feel about that? Maybe I should just not ask you a leading question.
No, you can lead the witness. It's fine. So the first time I was like, yeah, this is cool. You believe in us, you're partnered with us, because that's the way, you're taught in the partner development training is, you're locking arms, you're joining together. And I think feeling that from, the top dog in the ministry was huge, feeling that, he's behind me. The problem was, with his actions, he never represented a true partnership. And that's why I had to tell Joy, like towards the very end, we had these conversations, like we have to treat our relationship with Billy as if that isn't coming or that's ever at risk.
Smart.
We have, we really have to separate that in our minds, obviously. But yeah, that's how it felt. I was like, wow, this is really cool. But it definitely felt manipulative. Honestly, it felt like there was an attempt to control. And I want to be as generous as possible with it, but that's how that's how it became. That is how it felt later on, as things began to go down, as conflict escalated.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Were you gonna ask?
No, I was just thinking back to how that what you said earlier about with the friendship, him using the friendship card and then the finance piece, how that can get kind of messy in all this. Yeah.
It's like you could feel. I think we all can probably feel when a gift, a supposed gift, has strings attached. Like when, particularly when it's in the context of ministry or church or something spiritual, right? Like if the people that are giving you money have some type of influence in your life, whether it's, I know for us, spiritual parents, that was kind of a thing. Past years, like we had, and people talk about love bombing and kind of how love bombing can sort of mix with gifts and sort of this. But then at the end of the day, like, it's almost like you feel like they need you to decide to do something that benefits them in return.
Yes.
And quite literally, I mean, it's like almost like they're paying money. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but was it like they were paying money, or he was paying money to get something back? I mean, was that what it was like, or would you go so far as to say that? Maybe I'm
I wouldn't go so far to say that. But it just became sticky towards the end. I'll say it like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. It became a thing that felt funny.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just, are there any other parts about, I know we were kind of asked, like the main question was kind of like going back over your previous years, like certain, is there any other instances that you feel like are important to highlight, or do you feel like you kind of covered that like within the ministry, like the red flag moments or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, there's a few things I could think of. I would say things really started for us in 2022 when, I don't know, maybe I need to back up even further to before the beginning. But I had a series of dreams in 2022 after we left the section leading position. Another story for another time. And the dreams that I had pointed to, I mean, honestly, I don't know where you guys are with prophetic dreams and stuff, but for me, like I look back on them and I think there were warnings from God about an overreach in leadership. and a
Okay.
problem with that. And there's a few different of those. But what happened was I had these dreams, and again, I could just throw it all out at this point, but the dreams that I had were interpreted by someone who in the organization that is known as being gifted in dream interpretation, and he took those dreams about leadership, and he said that you have a leadership rebellion in a few of the interpretations. And so
Interesting.
I was like, I don't think that's right.
Mm.
And it was things like there's bitterness, there's distrust, things like that. And I took that to some of my pastors for counsel, and they're like, yeah, I think we should pray about that. That might be a thing. And eventually I felt like that narrative about me grew and grew and grew.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes and in my face. I would have people say, hey, you can't receive promotion in this organization until you get your bitterness figured out.
Oh, gosh.
And they wouldn't give any specifics. They wouldn't give, okay, what does that look like? It was just go to the prayer room and figure it out.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of that. And so I did.
Okay.
I went to the prayer room and I spent hours trying to figure it out. And what ended up happening is like I ended up believing that. Like honestly, it's like I believed I was Absalom in the story of Absalom and David. And there was even a book I was given called The Tale of Three Kings. And the implication is if you rebel against your guy, you're an Absalom. You know, never. It doesn't matter how bad they are. I don't know if you're familiar with that book, but please throw it out if you have it in your library.
I'm not that familiar. I've heard of it from somewhere, but I'm not
it was
familiar with it.
devastating for me, and frankly, it almost killed me. I was in a very, very dark place. Because I believed that. I believed I was Absalom. And honestly, if there's any credible, I don't know if you've met anyone that thinks they're Absalom, but they're not thinking straight. They're not talking straight. And so that was a season of like real confusion, real heartache. You know, I'm in the prayer room just wailing, crying, and like not a lot of help, not a lot of like, I think there were people that wanted to, but like, I don't know.
That's horrible. I'm so sorry.
It was rough. I believed 100% I was an Absalom, and I don't have a lot of understanding for why that happened, why I believed that, but it was just what I was told, and it was a prophetic narrative that I just bought hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
did I understand you correctly, Andrew, that it was like, in the beginning of that, you went to the quote unquote dream interpreter person who's known to be the dream interpreter. And then one thing led to another. It's like behind the scenes, these people talked to each other and sort of shared that information with others. And then next thing you know, it's like there's this sort of open secret that Andrew is supposedly like this Absalom just because he had dreams that were concerning to him about the dynamics in the organization.
And that's like, when I hear that, that's like the epitome of abuse, right? Like, I work with trauma and work with this, and it's so common, right? Especially like, of course you would believe that when you have all these people that you've trusted around you telling you this is true. And it's so common for survivors or victims to internalize self-blame,
Yeah.
And again, whether I don't know these people's intent, I don't know them, right? Giving the benefit of the doubt, whether it's intentional, unintentional, that is like the dynamic of abuse is projection, and it creates where victims actually do blame and hold that responsibility. So I just like really feel for you. That's so awful.
So awful
to internalize those beliefs, about yourself, and
then just go to the prayer room and get it figured out.
It's just, that's our answer is like, just get deliverance. You be delivered of your honest human emotions.
I would have loved someone tell me, hey man, you're crazy. Like, please leave. Like, that would have been cool. I think I would have liked that.
That would have been better than,
that would have been that would have been a lot better. Like, honestly, that would have been way better.
Yeah.
Dude, for sure. So, what, like, I'm super curious about this because I can identify in a little bit with what you're saying here, just my own story. But I'm wondering, like, with with the, the dreams and then all of that happened with the Absalom stuff, like what did you have like a light at the end of the tunnel where you sort of came out of that thing, or did that just sort of linger? Like, were you still even when y'all were doing night watch, was that still like in the back of my mind, like I still need to get this Absalom deal worked out of my life or something, or what was that like? Did it eventually just fizzle out, or what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I told quite a few people I was Absalom. So if people got that idea, I don't think it was some secretive thing. I don't know if I
Hmm.
said outright, I'm Absalom. It's like, I've been praying through it. I think I got bitterness, this, that, and the other. And I'm
Hmm.
even troubled by how I mean, I'm trying to lead by example. I'm trying to like, hey, this is how you like go before the Lord. And like, I'm even troubled about how I might have given credence to that, and that disturbs me when I think about meeting with people. And maybe I had some moments where I'm like, yeah, dude, like I just got bitterness and I had nothing to show for it. I had nothing other than like, this is just what I've been told. This is the prophetic narrative. And
Yeah.
that sounds so, I don't know. It was weird. And I remember like being on the disc golf course by myself and like praying to God, like, God, I don't know what is going on.
Mm.
I don't know, like, if this is all you have for my life, like, it just strike me down. Like, it was just one of those moments. Like, it was just this misery of, like, sitting in the prayer room and being told to just keep praying your bitterness away. Like, that was my life for years. Like, it was literally 2022 till,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I don't know when I got wise to it, but it took a little while.
So
It
you
took
kind of
me,
carried that internally, just like before you and the Lord, like really for a while. Like,
That's why it hurts when Malachi tweets about it. Dang it, Malachi, you
Oh
stop
my
talking about the
gosh.
accuser of the brethren. It just hurts. It just hurts
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
It just
Him and
does.
Landon Schott and
Yeah.
Michael
Oh,
Brown. I mean, it's like,
it's
this the accuser of the breath. I mean, it's just
yeah. Yeah, it was
they have
outright said to
worn.
me. Yeah.
Oh, dude, they have just worn that thing out. Like,
Yeah.
and who was it? Mike Winger a while back said, by the way, the accuser of the brethren is not people; it's actually the devil.
Yeah.
Newsflash. Which I'll be honest with you, man. I've heard that term, phrase, or whatever so many times that I didn't even realize that I was believing that wrongly. Like,
Sure.
oh, wow, oh, that's true. That it's the accuser of the brethren. I've heard that. We've heard that so many times that it's like, oh yeah, that's true. The devil's the accuser of the brethren, not some person who's simply trying to navigate their pain and harm that they've experienced.
Or just honest questions. I hate that, like in this NAR movement, like bringing up an honest, like, hey, like I'm noticing this is going on, or hey, I, just right. How we're supposed to speak the truth in love, how that's automatically you're bitter, you need to forgive. And I'm like thinking, y'all love David so much. Do you read the Psalms? Like, if you look, I mean, David did complain, and he complained and he got it out. And so I know you listen to our podcast. I get on a soapbox about that because it's like, anytime you go to a therapist with something like this, that's the first thing they have to help us do is learn to feel our emotions because we're told they're so bad. But so I hate that for you, like, that we're labeling anybody who brings something honest, an honest question, an honest thought is automatically you're bitter when that's not the case, Sorry.
No,
That's my little pet peeve.
100%.
Even if I was bitter, it doesn't mean what I had to say wasn't true.
Correct.
And there was a lot of truth that was being said.
It's like any other violation of humanity in the world, right? Like you're driving down the road and you see somebody walk into a gas station and steal something or harm somebody. Like it's only natural to say something. It's only natural to appeal to a higher authority or hire somebody who can step in and do something about it, or if they're not there, for you to step in and do something and protect that person, right? And so I like to sometimes take these, try to understand these invisible concepts and put it into like regular plain vanilla life and look at it and be like, is that actually
Well, and I was talking to a friend about this, stepping outside of the church realm and just talking to like normal people. they would never even use that language. Like if you were expressing yourself or talking about something, like that language doesn't even enter their mind. They're not concerned about somebody, I don't know.
Being bitter.
Yeah, it's like, okay, like you said, like even if we are bitter, like, is that okay? Like, can that be something that can be, anyways?
And then to add to that, like, even if somebody did say that in regular non-church life, oh, you're just bitter about that. I mean, the other person can say, well, yeah, I probably am.
Yeah.
And
Perhaps.
and it's like the other person is probably not going to be like, oh, well, you're just a terrible person then.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just I don't know. I'm kind of
sorry. We didn't mean to go off like on our little.
Yeah, it's about the worst sin you can have is being bitter. And I think what it was in my case is you're not willing to play ball like everyone else. That was the real, like, below the surface. Because it was, I mean, I could go down the road of all the things that happened after that, but I filed HR reports. So we discovered in the staff agreement, agreement everyone signed, that there was a clause about anti-bullying and harassment. And I'll never forget it. Joy reads it out because I think we had to sign it or something. And she's like, hold on a minute, Andrew. Could you come over here and read this? And it was like, wait a second. Like, this is what we've experienced is, there were bullying. There were moments where we were treated, Joy and I, different than the way other people would be treated. For example, one of mine was, I think I had a prayer set for Taiwan. Like, I think Taiwan and China were going to go to war. I don't know. It was something like that. I was praying, and one of the leaders said, no, actually, like, don't pray that way. Pray, like, don't give statistics. He was telling me how to pray, to pray on the microphone. And maybe I was being a little bit petty. Maybe I was just standing my ground. I don't know. But he was just, I was just like, no, like, I don't think you actually have the organizational authority to tell me to do this. I think that a million people pray a million different ways on our platform. I think I can just pray how I feel led to pray. And that led to a standoff. And so that's just one example of something. So it's little things like that led to, escalating, bringing it up the ladder, filing formal HR reports. And that led to a interaction with the head of HR that told me that your HR reports are a veiled accusation that leadership is not safe.
Wow.
And
so
that yes.
What do? They just canceled the complaint or what?
Yeah, they were like, HR representatives are not going to be joining you. Because I had HR representatives come to meetings as a third party because I was realizing people were being spiritually abusive. I didn't have the language for that, but I realized that's kind of what was going on. People were lording over, using their authority in ways that weren't necessary or just not respectful. And that's what he said. That HR is not going to be coming to any more meetings. This is just a veiled accusation that leadership is not safe. And what he said is HR reports to me. That was the kicker.
Reports to who? Billy?
This was the director of HR.
Okay.
Who's the operations pastor. He says that HR reports to me. He was basically
like HR on paper, but in practice, not for the employees or the staff. Yeah.
Yeah, and all my reports were legitimate. All of them were clear violations of company protocol. Every single one of them.
Wow.
There were only two, but every single one of them. Both of them.
That's terrible. I mean, that's just like a malpractice, a miscarriage of organizational safeguards, and it's probably some legal implications in there too.
And it sounds like too, Andrew, like it sounds like all the stories you're sharing, like every instance that you went to somebody with something, it doesn't sound like it ever produced any kind of positive or dialogue. It was all like back on you, back on you, back on you.
Yes.
Which I can't imagine. Like, how was that for you? Like, and it sounds like that was happening over a long period of time. But yeah, if you want to just share, like, how did you process that after so many instances like that.
Yeah. I mean, that one, it became very clear that HR was no longer a viable way of holding anyone accountable.
Yeah.
Which was shocking to me because I saw it work one time.
Okay.
I saw it work. I saw someone hold him accountable. But then I think it just got too taxing. I guess he's just like shutting this down. No, not doing this again. But yeah, that was a turning point for me when I realized that HR was not a safe place. HR was not going to be a safe way to hold leadership accountable. And at that point, I knew there was no way. And I think this was 2020, 23. And that's when that's basically the time I knew, spring 2023, there is no way to hold leadership accountable formally at all. Honestly, it took the William Branham Historical Research Podcast, I think I said all that right, to understand the dynamics of the organization, that it really was one person that was the Moses model, the one person that has the prophetic vision that leads and guides the church. And that was Mike Bickle in IHOP, Kansas City, and that was Billy at Gate City. And when I heard that and made that connection, my life made a lot more sense. It's a fundamentally broken system.
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I know the connection that William Branham Historical Research has made to where these movements came from has been mind-blowing. Like,
yeah.
What, like, when did you come across that component? Like, oh, we didn't just get dropped into a billion soul harvest fulfillment of Bob Jones. Like, there's a whole backstory that goes back, more than 100 years actually on that.
Yeah, I discovered that on Twitter, which maybe I should have listened to Billy and not gone on Twitter. Dang it! But like,
darn it, Twitter!
Dang it, Twitter!
Blame it on Twitter.
I remember like there was a discussion about the prophetic history, and in one of the threads, someone's like, "Hey, check out this podcast," but also like just a warning. It's a lot. Like I remember someone being
I remember that thread.
Oh my gosh. And it was actually a really good warning. Like, be sure you're ready for this. And I was like, what do you mean be sure you're ready? And I'm like, I'm gonna click on it now. And I did.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was the connection with Paul Cain and that dynamic between Paul Cain and Mike, and who Paul Cain would have been to Mike in the early days, was like, oh, could this have been Paul Cain's movement? I don't think he said that explicitly, but there was definitely an influence from the latter rain that's clear. Yeah. And so, anyway, what was it like finding out all that? I don't know. Some days I wish I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. Like I was actually telling you yesterday or the day before, like, some days, actually yesterday, I wished I never knew any of this. Honestly, honest to God, like,
sure,
you gotta go turn on some good old prayer room music and enjoy it without having to know that all the stuff that happened. But yeah, it's just it's part of the reality of how this stuff.
Eyes are opened and you can't unsee.
It, yeah.
And I feel like in a way, it feels like it's taken some innocence out of my faith because we're so innocent and just receiving all this, which I'm glad for some of it, but that's the painful part, I think, is right. There's a lot that's been lost, right? There's good that's been lost in the mix of sorting all this out. And that actually led to another question I had for you, Andrew, kind of going into that, like, and I don't know what word you use, if you would say I'm deconstructing or untangling or reconstructing your faith, but how has that led into how you're, navigating your beliefs right now? And what does that look like for you now that you're kind of out of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just taking it back to the basics. That's one thing I've really appreciated about your podcast is, just telling folks to, go back to the basics of the faith. And what has worked for me that has been really impactful, we left Gate City and we went straight to an Anglican church. And in the Anglican church, they have liturgy, reading of the word. They have confession of sin. Imagine that.
Novel concept.
And they have a confession of the Nicene Creed of the faith. And so, nowhere in the Nicene Creed does it say, well, Bob Jones had this like really cool word. And,
You mean Bob Jones is not in the Nicene Creed? I can't believe it.
I was shocked. Every week I'm still shocked. And so, I mean, that's it. I mean, I'm just looking at the words that have been written down that describe our faith, things that early on they were confronting Gnosticism. They were confronting, all these deceptive teachings that got people caught up and distracted from their faith. And that's really what I feel a lot of this prophetic mumbo jumbo is. It got me distracted for a little while from like, the one thing.
Isn't that the most ironic thing in the world too?
It got me distracted from like from my faith, from the tenets of the faith.
Yeah.
Historical Christianity.
That's
100%.
so cool to hear that, like path, like you're saying, back to just simple, and that's been really like good for you and your family right now. Where are you at? So I'm just curious too, because I love to know where are you at with the prophetic stuff and the healing stuff? Like, do you still believe in it? Are you unsure? Or I'd always like to know. If you want to share, you don't have to.
You're good.
Yeah, no,
I'm similar to Adam. There's things I can't explain. Yeah. There's the moments where I'm in a prophecy room and I get a vision of someone that, they're crying on their, I say vision, people are clicking off. I apologize. So like I get a picture of someone in their, like college campus, they're crying. And this is a like classic IHOP Kansas City prophecy room situation context where you just pray for God to give you a word for somebody, followed by a scripture, exhortation, that kind of safe prophetic practice. There's moments like that I just can't deny. I've seen the prophetic used to really encourage people. Yeah. In my own life, I mean, it brought me out of depression, healing, a supernatural healing that I cannot deny. I was fully depressed, fully, in the dumps. And it was this lady from Bethel, sorry, trigger warning. And she prophesied to me, and she's like, you will never be the same. And you are, she said things like, God loves you. And it was like something you hear in the Bible every single day. And then it's said with just the truth of what God is wanting to say to you in that moment. And it changed my life. It really did. And there was such an opposition in my heart. Like, I don't want to hear that God loves me. Like, stop, lady. Stop telling me that God loves me. So it's just moments like that where it's like, okay, like this, does it matter that person came from Bethel? Does it matter that God used the prayer movement, in my life? I still, like, frankly, there's many mistakes I've made in ministry, like ways I've perpetuated harmful systems. But man, like I said earlier, that sanctuary is what I keep coming back to. Like, I'm proud of the work we did to create a safe atmosphere for people to come and worship God. Like, I just am. I'm proud of the work that we've done to do that. And so I don't know. Does that answer the question? Where am I with the prophetic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe that's it. Like, I can't deny it. There's moments that are, they'll be with me the rest of my life.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, what do I say about that? I know I identify with that too, because we both have talked
we
about,
talk about that a lot. Yeah.
Just in our own personal, like, relationship with God, and even things that we've seen God do in other people's lives, which, and I've told John Collins about this on his podcast, like, there are things that I know that God did, but that makes it makes this so nuanced and hard though, because you're like, well, like, to your point, the beauty of the prayer room and the beauty of the concept of having a sanctuary there where anybody can come any time of day, like, but then, well, how much of that was, I don't even know how to say this. I think you know what I'm trying to say.
You can go out and say it, man.
How much do you keep? How much do you? And I literally am still in this all the time. I'm trying to figure that
Yeah.
out, and I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
And so, and then the next question is, what do you do with music? Like, what do you do with the music from Bethel, the music from IHOP, and all this?
Yeah.
And I think everybody probably lands in a different spot. I know a lot of people just say throw it all away, which I totally get that and I respect that. But I'm not there fully. I feel like there's still things that you can keep and things.
Yeah.
I mean, like if a group of people are worshiping God and they're sincere in their hearts, like at the end of the day, is there anything wrong with that? Other than the fact that they're making millions of dollars.
Well, it's hard. Our little 8-year-old son, he loves Bethel music. I mean, he gets on asks us to put on the songs, and it's hard because we know like every view is like, but
Yeah.
it's like we don't want to take that.
Yeah, we don't want to burst his bubble either.
So these things are hard for sure. But
just,
I love
just
that
throw him to the William Branham podcast. Just put that in. That's just leave it around the house all the time. And
oh my gosh, yeah,
that a lot of questions.
That is an option. That is an option for sure.
But I love that you're able to. I think that's, I mean, and I respect where anybody's at because I get like people have horrific stories and I get they're like, I don't want anything to do. I totally respect that. But I think it is good to like, I love to hear that you're able to hold these like, these God moments that you're like, I know this is true or no, this is God. And that I think that can be helpful too when you are trying to rebuild your faith because it's like you don't have to. I said this in one of our podcasts. It feels like almost throwing away your whole history with God, right? To throw it all away, but to hold on to those nuggets and know, okay, God, you were in this. Like we get to take that with us. So yeah,
I like visualizing. We talk about deconstruction and reconstruction, and it's kind of like you're remodeling your house while you're demoing your house.
That is a
simultaneously.
Yeah.
Like. We just need to rip the back deck off and we need to tear the garage down. But while we're at it, we're building a new sunroom or we're putting in a new like home office or whatever it is. We're building a backyard kitchen. But which is so crazy because how can you demo and build at the same time? But I mean, I think that's the nature of our asynchronous journey that we're in. Like this stuff is happening literally simultaneously. So what do you think about that, Andrew? Like, are you experiencing that? Are you experiencing things that you're still trying to sort of demo in your belief system in your life, but then also like stuff that you're like trying to, not necessarily trying to build back up, but letting it regrow or whatever?
That's so good. I love the demo, the demo image, and you're going to hate me for saying this, but that's so prophetic because I had a dream about that.
Oh, did you?
Sorry, guys. No, that was one of the dreams that was interpreted in the beginning. There was something wrong with the foundation.
Okay.
And it needed the big fix.
Are you talking about the dream back when the Absalom deal?
Yeah.
Or was this okay? Gotcha.
And I believe it was falsely interpreted. Again, I don't want to speculate too much, but like it's been an image with me this whole time. It's been I've got to rebuild the foundation. What does it mean? I don't know. Does it mean I'm an Absalom? Definitely not. It just means I've got to examine. Frankly, I think I had to examine the prophetic narratives. I had to examine what was going on. So anyway, you can cut that out because I just added a prophetic word there. So.
Well, I mean, dude, you feel free.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you want to say, don't worry about that. This is about you telling your story. So
yeah, no, I'm joking, but I genuinely do believe God was leading us to examine the foundations of what we were looking at. Could it have been pizza? Either way, it led us to, examine deeply the things that we were looking at.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if you zoom out a minute, like, because that was 2022, right?
Yep.
Around then. And then now 2025, so 3 years, if you can skip the Absalom blip, like hop over that for a second, here we are 25, like that is, to your point, like that is exactly what sounds like is happening in your life, which is, I think that's outside looking in, that sounds very encouraging. Yeah. Probably not always comfortable or fun, but at least you have a sense of like, God is doing something in and through this. I don't
Yeah.
mean to bypass or spiritualize it at all, but that just feels like a glimmer,
Yeah.
you know,
That's a
in
prophetic
your
history I
story.
can get behind.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a difference. I know this is just my opinion, but I think there's a difference between like, right, these personal prophetic things between you and the Lord, right, and putting this, right, manipulative spin out on everybody else. And I think that's the difference too, is like, right, they're sharing their dreams and visions, but putting that upon a whole group of people, you know, versus what you're saying is like, this was something God showed you for yourself. And I think that's a huge, I mean, I think that's a huge difference.
Or to be fair,
Yeah.
God used a pizza dream that was 100% pizza and got our attention with it.
Hey, that can work too, right?
He
Like, I mean,
used the license plate for us. So,
Cool.
you know,
wait, are you talking about the text?
like to, yeah, like to speak to us. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
we're probably freaking some people out right now.
Yeah, my buddy Richard Moore is going to say you're all into numerology.
Yeah, I think we're NAR for sure now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's fine. I'm guilty as charged.
Yeah. Anyways.
But I'm glad we can laugh about a little bit of this.
Yeah, like disclaimer, we're not saying that God needs to speak to you through those things.
No,
to be clear.
We're not.
Um,
yeah, I'm looking back at your story, Andrew, to see if we missed anything that you had wanted to talk about. Are there any gaps that you feel like you want to share? Anything else that you want to add for everybody to know, whether it's about your story or bigger picture or anything at all? Like, we're all ears.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much covers it. There's plenty. Could say I'm grateful for, the work that you guys do. The Grit in the Wild podcast, even that phrase, man, I just have to say and the way you said it in the first episode, oh, dang it. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's not like grit your teeth, get through it.
Yeah.
It's determination and the willingness to look deeper and to do the hard work of that dynamic of what is true, what is not. Like, that takes hard work. And so I don't know. I've just loved the work that you guys have done, and
Thank you.
Putting people's feet to the fire on Twitter. Please keep doing that. Please don't stop doing that.
Okay.
And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much. Yeah, dude, it's been such a pleasure connecting with you and just being able to hear your story. So appreciate you sharing and having the courage to tell us your story. And we're just, honestly, like we said from the beginning, like, super honored that you felt, comfortable sharing that with us and our little bitty blip of our subscribers who hopefully benefit. I know they will. But yeah, thank you so much. We really just appreciate all that you've done. And if we can come back on again and maybe do a part 2, we'd love to. And if Joy ever wants to share her story too, of course, she's welcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thank you so much. And we hope everybody y'all have enjoyed this. I know I have, and I know you have too. And,
absolutely.
yeah. So I think maybe that's a wrap, unless we have any final parting thoughts. You want to add anything before we wrap, Andrew?
Nope. Thank you, guys.
Well, thanks
you
so much. We appreciate you, man.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. And if y'all want to check out any more episodes, we're at Grit in the Wild. You can contact us by email at gritinthewild@gmail.com. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.